Good evening, everyone. Thank you for waiting a few minutes for all of us to sign in. And welcome to the first meeting of the Village of Port Jefferson Board of Trustees for the new year 2021. As always, we open up our meetings with a tribute to the this country and our flag. And so without further delay, we'll segue into that musical segment of our meetings.
Very nice.
Teresa,
Wow.
can I have the name of that, the young man that was playing the piano? I know it was Cole. How do you spell his last name?
Fortier, Fortier.
Got it.
It's
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's our very own Cole Fortier and our very own Kevin Wood, rock star wannabe. That's awesome.
He is a rock star.
He is a rock star. I don't know.
The
You guys-
multi-talented Kevin Wood.
Really, I honestly, that was pretty neat. That was so cool how they did that, in synchronization and everything. I will say that when we did the stage dedication at Harborfront Park, and Dom Famularo, one of the best drummers in the entire world that lives in this village, our very own Dom, took to the drum set, and Kevin took to the guitar with our neighbor up on the East Broadway, whose name unfortunately escapes me at this point in time. They put on an amazing, the three of them had never played together, and they put on the most amazing show. It was mind-blowing. It was unbelievable. Kevin's very talented, so thank you, Kevin, for that. That was wonderful. Okay, so we're going to jump in here. First order of business, as always, is to approve the minutes from the prior meeting. We took the second meeting of December, the December 21st off, so we're going way back to December 7th. In reviewing the minutes from December 7th, 2020, are there any additions, amendments, changes, comments?
Looks good to me.
Okay, thank you, Stan.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Oh, well, we'll do them all. We'll do them all together, Rebecca. We'll do 1 through 10.
Just so we're-
I know, but I do wanted to just pause for a minute because it's just confirmed that we do have Suffolk County with us. Officer Zyman, I think, is on. I want to welcome Officer Zyman from the Suffolk County 6th Precinct. And also our chief of our code bureau, Fred Lute, is with us. And I just wanted to ask if both Officer Zyman and Fred Lute, our chief, would like to give a report on the public safety of our village for the last month or so. Fred, you want to
Sure.
start off? Thanks.
I just have a couple of things tonight, and I'm sure Officer Zyman will concur.
Reminder to lock all vehicles across Suffolk County, dealing with a lot of vehicle thefts. Majority of them are due to the fact that people are leaving key fobs in the vehicles or leaving their garage door open with the vehicle in the garage. The difficulty is if persons can get into your car and you have a garage door opener over your visor or attached to your visor, they can now get into your house. So we want to stop that. So please lock your doors, lock your cars. Secondarily, if anyone in the village needs this, we have several personnel here in the Constable Bureau that are security and home security experts, dealing with cameras and alarm systems and all kinds of things. They're always willing to give you free advice if you need it, especially for our elderly. You can call 631-774-0066, okay? And you can ask for Chief Lute, and we will set up an appointment and we'll have someone come and see you and speak to you about your house. And that's pretty much all I have right now, Mayor.
Chief, it was a relatively quiet month in the village from
Oh,
your
yes.
perspective.
Yes.
And want to thank the Bureau for everything they've done for the village residents for the year 2020. It was a pretty robust year. A lot of running in a lot of different directions. So on behalf of the Mayor's office and the Board of Trustees, thank you and your Bureau for a very fine job, Fred. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Officer Zyman, please thank Inspector Riley on behalf of the Village of Port Jefferson, all the ladies and gentlemen from the 6th Precinct for the hard work they do for our village. We did have, I think, a break-in and a burglary for one of our merchants on East Main Street. Unfortunately, right before the holidays. Can you give us an update on some of the other incidences and anything that you see here in the village that we should be concerned about?
Thank you. And I will absolutely send your regards over to the command staff and the inspector here. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
So, yes, to reiterate what Chief Lute was just discussing with the Lock It or Lose It campaign, that's absolutely true. He touched on all the major points. I will say locally in the Port Jeff area, I was looking at these calls in the statistics. Locally, some property that was lost in the Port Jeff area through these exact circumstances, through vehicles with fobs left in cars or unlocked, an $800 camera, multiple incidences of cash, and a wallet. So it's happening locally. It's happening throughout our precinct. It's happening throughout the county. Just smarten up, be a little bit more vigilant, and make sure you're not leaving fobs in cars and lock those cars. Speaking in more detail about the burglary that you mentioned that did occur at 1502 Main Street, New Best Cleaners. That occurred, looking back here in the notes, that occurred back on the 9th of December. It's still an active investigation. We did have a break over there, a glass break. The suspect or suspects entered. There was surveillance. As of now, the surveillance has not led us to being able to identify the suspect. Property that was taken there was limited in a sense that it was only coins that were taken, luckily. And we are in conversations with the owner of that business and working on that investigation. That occurred in the middle of the night, right around 2:00 in the morning. There was a robbery also that occurred at the CVS at Barnum in Maine. So that robbery occurred, like you said, right before the holidays. 12/17 is what I have here in my notes, about 5:00 in the afternoon. This is a group of individuals that some of our detectives had been surveilling. Specifically, there was a vehicle of interest locally. We believe it was positioned somewhere in the Piedmont apartment area. So we were in the process of surveilling them when this actual occurrence happened at CVS, which ultimately led to these individuals being apprehended and arrested. Different than the recent incident that some of you might have heard that occurred over in Middle Island at another pharmacy. We don't believe at this point they are related. Some people are asking, but we were able to apprehend these individuals. There was a silver Equinox involved in this robbery, and they were placed under arrest, brought into custody over here at the 6th Precinct. It's a case that's involving our major case command team. With the that's on a county level. So we're happy to announce that at least those individuals have been apprehended. We already discussed the vehicles, the lock it or lose it. Any other information that you'd like me to talk about or bring up? I'd be happy to
Yep.
discuss.
Thank you. Thank you for those updates. There was also a local robbery, I think, for a business known as Pattern Finders on East Main Street. Do you have that in your records? I don't have the address.
No, in East Main Street, I have the robbery at CVS. I have the burglary at the cleaners.
I believe that one was in November, late November.
That
Oh,
could be. That could
yeah,
be.
I'm
this.
sorry. Maybe it was
I should
before
say that this
Thanksgiving.
data covers from the 7th of December up to January 4th of
Okay.
of 21. So
Okay.
that could be it. But I could look into that more. So what was the address? You don't have the address, but the name
I
of the
don't.
business?
128 East Main Street.
128 East Main Street.
That was turned over to the 6th Squad detectives and is still under investigation from what I understand.
Okay.
Thank you,
If
Fred.
you guys want to stand by and talk about a few other things, I could always raise my hand in the chat if I can find any updates on it on my computer.
Can I
Yeah.
ask one more, please, before you head out, just in case there's another thing to look up? I believe, and I don't remember if this was late November or early December, seeing information go by about a robbery at Mike's Garage, the auto garage on Main Street.
The auto garage on Main Street, Mike's Garage. Do we know for that last December meeting, was I the person that was at the December meeting, or was there
Oh.
another officer?
John, the staff.
It was Officer John?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have the address on that garage?
I can look that up.
Now I can update you on that as well. That was not a robbery. It was actually a pettit larceny. The owner of the garage left the garage to do a road test on a vehicle, and a man came in, looked around, saw no one was around, and made himself at home. He accessed the register. He accessed a couple of things. He got very minimal funds, and they have excellent, they know who it is. They have an ID on him now. It's with the 6th Squad detectives.
Thank you. Thank you.
What was the address on that call? Because that does sound like something that was in here, but it wasn't as a robbery. It wasn't written as a larceny.
Yeah, it's a larceny.
616 Main Street.
Yes, it is in here. Yes, it's listed as a gas station, USA Gas in here. Okay. Yes, those details match up, Chief. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for that. I know
You're welcome.
that some folks were curious about that. I'm glad to hear, that everything was found out.
Yes.
Okay, so if you want to follow up on the 128 East Main Street, the only reason I ask for that follow-up is, we were told that it could be related to some other incidences. So we're hoping that, if those people are, we can all relax on East Main Street, or obviously don't relax, keep your doors locked, don't go driving cars and testing things and leaving your door wide open for everybody. But, if it was a pattern, I'm glad you arrested the people who robbed CVS. That's fantastic news. And I heard that the staff at CVS did an excellent job in that assist. So they responded perfectly under the circumstances. So, guys, just because, it's a tough time out there for a lot of people. And, so we're seeing probably a lot more break-ins locally than we would under normal circumstances. So thank you for Officer Zyman. We appreciate you being here. Are any other questions from the board at this time? Okay. So if you want to look into that, Officer Zyman, and chime back in, that'd be fine. Teresa, can you check, make sure that we see his hand? I don't want him hanging out too long.
No problem. I'll keep an eye out for it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Happy New Year. Okay, so we
Happy
have a
New
new
Year to all of you.
Thank you. So we have a new hire, which is a senior building inspector. This staff individual replaces the ordinance inspector who left the village to go work in the township of Smithtown. Mark has been working under the direction of Rich and Joe at Village Hall. Correct, Joe?
Correct.
He's doing an excellent job so far, correct?
He's
We're very lucky to have him.
Absolutely. He's hit the ground running. Mark has a tremendous amount of experience in this background. He has many, many years under his belt, including as a superintendent of a village in Nassau County, as I understand it from his resume. And he's the only person that scored 100 on the senior building inspector civil service exam. So we're very lucky to have him.
Yes, and also we're lucky to have a second building inspector who
That
can
is true too.
who can do inspections as well as write up violations and things of that nature. So he's we brought him out of retirement,
Correct.
which is a
There
good
you
thing.
have the officer raising his hand.
Okay, great. Thanks. Yes, no?
I think it was
Yeah,
just
it was
turning his
my
camera
fault. I
on.
was trying to freeze the screen. I actually just found the case file. I'm reading through it, and I will let you guys know. Sorry for interrupting.
No problem, hon. Okay, so that's a good and much needed new hire to replace a pre-existing employee. We have a couple work change orders, 3, 4, and 5, that all are involving the final construction of the Barnum Avenue. Joe, you just want to run us through real quick, 3, 4, and 5 nutshell version, please.
Right. So we have the $5,000 change order was to remove the trees and stumps from the buffer that we had intended on keeping. But once we had to slide the lot closer or south, closer to Caroline, we realized that whatever was remaining after that, based off of our master gardener and planners, that those trees were not going to survive. They were really not in good health. So we had to have them all removed, and we replaced it with new plantings, new vegetation, which so far looks really good. So that's the change order for the 5,000. The $1,000 change order. Does anybody have any questions about that before I move to the next one? The $1,000 change order was to mix the actual color of the stamped concrete into the mixing machine on the truck, which makes for a more solid cement base all the way through. It was originally bid out where the cement would come out in that grayish color, and they would throw a powder color on top. So if anything happened to the stamped concrete, if it chipped or something happened, you would see the gray color coming through. Hopefully we won't have any chips or anything or any wear or tear. But if that is the case with this new stamped concrete, the concrete is colored all the way through. And the 23,000 was to repave Caroline. That corner there needed to be repaved. I think the corner, the block itself or the street itself needed to be repaved as well. We had two options. The first option was to basically mill half the road in order for us to get to the 5 or 6 inch reveal up against the curb. So it made much more sense to go ahead and repave the whole thing at this time, as opposed to repave half. So that's why we went ahead with this option here. And that's what this change order is for.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, it just made that roadway a lot better, and I think we have an obligation to the merchants who are there locally being impacted. We have Officer Simon with his hand up, so we'll take you on an update. Thank you.
Okay, so looking back into the case file for 128 East Main, the business as you had described it, the information that was collected there by crime scene resulted in the lack of video. The case was being handled by the 6th Precinct Squad and has since then been handed off to our major case squad, which was the same group of investigators that got involved with the CVS crime. I can tell you unofficially that when those individuals were apprehended at CVS, they were more than likely questioned regarding this case. But as of now, this case remains active and is being handled by major case.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next item, number 6 is,
Mayor, I have a question for Joe about the Caroline.
okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Since that's all being repaved up to what point? Past the park?
No, right before, what is that, Jane?
No, it's the, it's that little road that leads down from, Oaks that connects to Caroline.
The first, right. So from
I don't know.
Barnum to the first street, right where the park begins.
Okay, so that doesn't affect the parking along the park just yet. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it was sort of like the turnoff from Barnum onto Caroline was all crumbling and just falling apart. And it's a really wide road there. So we wanted to make it seamless, you know, you know, it just, the neighborhood needed it.
Okay.
It finishes off the roadway and the parking lot perfectly. So
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. It sounds great. And I know that corner was very, just kind of torn up. But I just wanted to know, because we've had requests from residents on Caroline to readjust the parking along the park. So if we were going to repave further, then I was going to talk about restriping, but that's for another day. So
gotcha. Thanks, Kathy Ann.
Thank you.
I have a
Good
question.
point. Yes, Bruce. I mean, Stan.
I was talking with Joe about this today. The survey markers, did we finally get them? We're going to put survey markers in
On the lot?
on the lot. The 4 corner markers that we
Well,
talked about.
No, we didn't do the survey that was done was for the portion that was transferred to the village, not for the actual lot itself. So we don't have a full survey of that location at this time.
Wait, I'm confused. We have a survey of the land that became the parking lot
Correct.
with the piece that was taken from the Tritech project and merged to our lot to make it a square, perfect rectangle. We have a survey
Correct.
map of that, correct?
We have a survey map of the lot itself,
Right.
but the piece that was recently surveyed was just the section that was transferred over to us.
So I'm sorry,
So
Stan, what are you asking for? You're asking for monuments on the 4 corners of the parking lot?
Well, I was talking with Joe today, and apparently there was a charge for 4 corner markers for that lot, and we never got the markers.
Well, that was for the new piece.
Okay.
Where the house stood, you're saying?
Right. So they didn't put the stakes in and they didn't put the markers in,
Okay.
but we do have the actual survey.
Right, but we didn't pay them for
We did not pay for the markers.
Okay.
Right. We saw that charge and we withheld it because
Correct.
we went into the field and saw that they didn't place the markers there. So,
Correct.
but thank you for that level of detail. Bruce Miller, please. Yep.
Hi, thank you, Mario. Joe, I just want to rewind a little bit. We were talking about moving the parking area south and taking down trees. We had been assured that there was going to be a lot of shrubbery, and basically the existing stuff seems to be coming down. Just explain to me again why it is we moved the meets and bounds of the parking area.
Oh,
So the design that DMB had prepared for us initially, before the survey was submitted, had the Barnum lot more designed more north than it was actually built. When the survey had come in and we were able to identify what the village property was versus our partner or neighbor, we had to redesign, or DMB had to redesign to move the lot further south. Otherwise, we would have been building on a neighboring property.
right, but it was like a foot and change.
Couple of feet, right.
Right. So,
go ahead, Mayor, I'm sorry.
No. The real issue with the trees is that by the time they came in and they thinned out and then we were putting the sidewalk in. When they got the underbrush out, what was left was tall, thin locust, and when they had to put the sidewalk in, they were undermining all of the root systems, and we were left with like three tall trees that were not going to survive the long run. So we sent the plan back to planning, to Lisa Rickmers and to Karen Markson, and said, and the recommendation was, no, these trees will not survive now, and they should just come down, and you guys should plant all new stuff. So it's not necessarily the discrepancy, which was a little over a foot. It was really that when you got in there and you cleaned out all the underbrush, what the healthy trees that were left were being undermined, and the root systems, and they were not going to survive. It would just have been a matter of time for those trees to have to come down. So
my point is that I assume, have paid for a design for this property, and the design was a positive design that was presented, and now we're shifting things, we're moving things, we're taking trees down, which may be not that majestic at the moment, but being able to be field grown would possibly develop into something. And I'm not suggesting or quarreling with our gardener's decision that what we would do to this property would cause these trees to die anyway. I'm not arguing with that. I'm just wondering how the planning went so far astray. Larry Lapointe was involved with this and ensured that we would have an attractive looking parking lot with significant vegetation, and it doesn't seem like we're getting that.
Well, I would say that, well, I don't know if I would completely agree with that. I think the Barnum lot has been constructed very well. I believe the bioswales that are adjacent to Barnum Avenue come next spring and summer and the next couple of seasons as the plantings there grow and the vegetation grows together. I think it's going to look beautiful. And along Caroline, there was a new design and development to create a very attractive buffer with some blue spruces and arborvitaes and another type of tree. So, and I think in a few seasons, once all of that grows in, I think all the boundaries around the Barnum parking lot are going to look very attractive. And I think it's going to fit in with the community.
I want to say there was a concerted effort in the design phase, no doubt, and it's a shame that that wooded buffer had to come down. But you get into, when you get into excavation and something on paper and in the field is just a different scenario. So the end result is not what we anticipated, nor I think what any of us wanted. But unfortunately, it's a condition that came from being in the field and seeing what the conditions were once we were there in the field. So
I'm confident that you'll do the best you can, and it will look good eventually. I would just make one suggestion. Joe had mentioned arborvitaes, which are cheap and grow fast but die quick. So I would maybe talk with Karen a little bit about that. I'm having some doubt about arborvitae. Thank you.
The plantings that were planted in that buffer area were actually the recommendation of Karen.
Okay.
okay, thanks, Joe. Going to move on to number 6, which is just basically a lump sum bid for Holzmacher. This is to build a vestibule, if you will, to make it more safe for those who are entering Village Hall, so that they need to check in before they just waltz into the building and start wandering around. It's something that we explored a long time ago when with our prior administrator clerk, and trying to make the building a little bit safer. So I applaud the administration for putting that forward at this point in time. And this is, the 27.5 is just for the design. Joe, is that correct? More
That
or
is
less, so
correct.
we can
That
go
is
out to bid.
correct.
We can then go out to bid for the construction. You want to just, in a nutshell, 30 words or less, give the board an idea of what we're looking at here?
Well, in terms of the design or in terms of the price and what we're
I
getting
mean,
for?
no, you're just going to enter the building, but you're basically checking in with the front clerks before you can actually then enter the main building. Is that correct?
Correct. So the initial discussion is as you walk in, before you get to the second door to enter Village Hall, where that window exists, there would be a cutout there and a new door installed. A new counter would be installed that is separate from the front office itself. We're looking at building 2 or 3 stalls for people to conduct business with village staff in that particular room. Obviously, if someone needs to go up to the court, they'll be buzzed in through the door and they'll be let in. If someone has a meeting with Bob or myself, the mayor, or for trustees having a meeting, everybody will be able to check in at the front and we'd know who comes in, as opposed to having people just wandering around. I mean, we've had people looking for birth certificates up in the court clerk's office. We've had people trying to pay tickets down at the front office. And we've put signs up and new signs and directional arrows, and people still, they get lost, which is fine. But
Yeah.
I think this is just going to keep the flow of traffic moving a lot smoother in Village Hall.
Well, and it's also a security issue. Predominantly, this is a security issue.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Rebecca?
It sounds like how it is at the building and planning right now. You walk in, there's a little vestibule. You
Yeah.
see in a window. Generally, you don't go in, and it functions very well there. You don't feel like you're being held back from anything. If you need to access the rooms beyond, there's a reason for it, you go. But otherwise, as a resident, I've never felt kept back from anything. And it does keep everyone sort of moving in the right direction and not.
Well, and we have had some people that have become upset and confrontational and belligerent, where we had to have code and Suffolk County Police come and escort these individuals out of the building and off premises. I think this would give us a much better opportunity to prepare for something like that, and have the ability to call code or Suffolk County PD in advance of something like that happening, and provides the staff in the building some time to protect themselves and prepare.
Yeah. We also had, as part of that, the plan that was put together about 4 or 5 years ago when Dave Williams was our deputy fire marshal, also called for, some buzzer systems in place in the courtroom. So in the event of an emergency, there's a buzzer to call. So that's all being taken care of, not in this design proposal here, but in certain offices within the village, the buzzers will be now installed as well. So just doing everything to keep our staff safe.
The vestibule is exactly what the school district has recently done in both the high school, middle school, and the elementary school with that type of vestibule, and check in after, much discussion and research for the safest way to do things. So I think it's long overdue. So I'm happy to see that moving forward.
Agreed. Thank you. And thanks, Joe and Barbara, for getting it moving forward.
Yes.
Number 7, I believe, is just a formality. I think we worked on this hazard mitigation plan with Suffolk County. It was a kind of a mandate, and I think we had a deadline for this to meet. And this the resolution is just a formality, correct?
That is correct. We need to have the resolution approved by the board back to Suffolk County before the end of this month.
Okay. Stan, the next item is a country club matter. In reviewing the corporate rate sheet, it looked fine to me. I know that corporate memberships are kind of hard to sort of package and put together because they come in all sorts of in shapes and forms, but I think you did a really good job of contemplating a large corporation and a small corporation and everything in between.
Yes, this probably should have been presented earlier. It was just an oversight. Basically the same as last year, except we've included guest passes in most of the corporate memberships. It's a good deal for any corporation.
And I think you sold a few early bird corporate memberships. Is that correct?
We did. We have 9 corporates right now.
Wow, that's good. Very
So-
good. Excellent. Excellent job. And of course, Mr. Garland, who was recently appointed to the CCMAC, is doing a fantastic job in working with Brian and with the country club on and upgrading the software that the membership will be experiencing in the new season, and helping the tennis group as well use this software for court reservations. He's doing an excellent job. He is well worth the enumerated compensation here for what he's bringing to the table and helping us with our efficiencies. I couldn't highly recommend him any more than I am urging us to encourage this extension. Stan, you agree?
I totally agree, and we're going to keep him on through the end of May, so that we make sure we get this thing in place, running smoothly.
Well, the resolution here says April. So do you are you looking for the end of May?
Does it say April?
It says April, yeah.
Asked for
You know,
April.
so it's
Yeah,
so
the end of April.
okay.
The
So
end
the
of
new
April.
software is going to be implemented for the coming season. Golf is anticipated to start March 15th. So that gives us enough time for everybody to start using the system to get the kinks out, correct?
Hopefully, we'll have most of our membership in place prior to Todd leaving the scene.
Good.
But he's always
And-
going to be available. He's on the committee.
Yep. And Denise, he's working with you and Joe. I don't know if you were in those meetings necessarily, but Denise, you saw the new software and how it's going to help the back end managing all of the, I don't know, the comings and goings of golfers and guests and
Yes.
purchasing of tee times and guest fees and all that good stuff. Okay, good. Just making sure you're awake, Denise. All right, and then we have the warrants. We had 2 sets of warrants. I sent a little questionnaire back to Michelle on some of my questions, but their guys are doing a great job. There is a spending freeze in the Village of Port Jeff. Anything over $500 has to come through Joe, myself, because part of the difficulties that we're managing through this pandemic is, we've lost half of our revenue lines in programming and other things that just are not happening. So we're in a lockdown in terms of spending. Were there any questions from the board members on warrants?
Yes.
And yep, Stan?
It's probably more like a suggestion. I noticed that a couple of checks were made out for the minimums.
Yeah.
At the present time, I believe they're doing a weekly list. I think that might become a bookmaking nightmare as this new membership comes in. It might be better off to do it monthly. I saw 2 checks went over to Crest. 2 members joined in January, just this week, and the checks were already drawn and sent to the Crest organization.
Okay, well, you can always meet with Denise and Michelle upstairs and sort of tighten up that process. I don't mind us approving them as they come in every other week to keep a good wheel on that. But the
Right.
release of the money, so you have a better handle on when the minimum cards are going out, that, you can tighten that process up if you want.
Yeah, it's just that, they're not accepting minimums right now anyway. So,
I think last time we met with Waterview, that's what our agreement was, to pay them like every Monday.
Right,
So,
but Stan, they can use their minimums at Danfords now, right?
correct.
Right, so if a new member gets his card, it says welcome and you can spend it at Danfords if you'd like. I mean, so, but you can talk about that internally with the treasurer's
Okay.
office.
I just think it would be easier for them, but
yeah,
that's up,
definitely.
that's up to Denise.
Well, yeah, but if you do it every other week, it's just going to get that you're going to have larger batches. So it's probably better for them if they got a process to stay on top of it. But
Okay.
again,
We can hold the check. We can process the check and just hold it and release it once a month if you want.
yeah. I finally straightened out that nonsense, Stan. Don't make it start again. Okay, so I don't think we have any other action items for this evening for approval anyway. Is that correct, Barbara and Joe? Is that correct? Right? So just 1 through 10 as presented by Clerk Sakovich. Motion to approve. Is there a second? Rebecca, do you want a second?
Can that?
Okay. And then all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Very quickly, if you didn't know, I think half the village knows anyway. Unfortunately, I came down with the COVID virus. I don't recall the date. All I know is I got my get out of jail free card on the 24th of December. So that all that time in front of the holiday was just a big fuzzy ball to me. But I was fortunate enough to come out of it without any severe symptoms. It's the first time I've stayed home for 10 days straight without seeing another human being, except for Barbara Ransom when she banged on my door with Christmas cookies. But folks, the update is that the numbers are just soaring here in Suffolk. I think the last number that I saw for yesterday was above 10%. So we're going to look in carefully and see what the good governor may impose on us. We're hoping that we can get through this time, but they do say, especially with this new strain of virus, which has been determined and found to be in New York, that the next 6 to 8 weeks are going to be a challenging time. I kind of knew that we needed to get through, the first 3 months of 2021 to see where we're going to come out of this. So all I can do is encourage you to please, listen to the guidelines, try and protect yourself, stay safe. And, I think everything that we have in place in the village is sort of status quo at this point. We haven't had any rollbacks or further restrictive enforcement of, any further, mandates in terms of density of restaurant use or anything like that to date. So thankfully we got through the holidays, but now we're going to see the numbers, the impact that the holidays are going to have on those numbers as we head into mid-January and into February. Brian, do you have anything you want to add to that? Is that pretty?
No, that's pretty much all the briefings that we've had recently on the state and the county level, all exactly the same. I think everyone's kind of taking a wait and see and crossing their fingers based on what's going to happen with this holiday bump. Hopefully we get through it.
Yeah. Hopefully we can roll out the vaccines, in a much more aggressive way. But the good news is I know a lot of our residents, our staff at the major hospitals, both Math or St. Charles and the State University Hospital here. So I know that a lot of our local residents are getting the vaccination and they're happy to receive it. And we're happy to see that actually taking place. Good news for the village of Port Jeff is the sand dredging project. The county is dredging the throat of Mount Sinai Harbor. If you haven't heard or seen the news, we are receiving 80,000 cubic yards of sand, which I believe is our sand, all of it, coming back to us. You'll see that East Beach is closed for the time being. You'll see the geothermal, the way they're having the tube come and bring our sand back. We have full sand in front of the seawall. So there's actually a beach down at East Beach again. It's really an unbelievable thing to see. Hopefully the beach can be opened back up. We're thinking, Joe, any indicator? Is it going to be late January? Are they ahead of schedule? Do we have an idea?
They're ahead of schedule. I think
Yeah.
they said another week to 2 and they should be done.
Good. Yeah, that's kind of looked from the status of the project that looked like about what it would be happening. But 80,000 cubic yards is a tremendous amount of sand. And it's going to have a tremendous impact on that landscape there for, I would think, several years. And we're just really thrilled. I want to thank, this took every level of government cooperation from the federal level, state level, county, town, and village. So I obviously want to thank, starting with Mr. Zeldin, our congressman, State Senator Laval, I think had to find $3 million in the end. The town of Brookhaven, of course, county for overseeing the project. And, just it's a beautiful thing to see our sand back. So I want to thank everybody who's been involved in that project, which started 10 years ago, folks, by the way. Nothing with respect to the beaches and DEC and the Army Corps is quick. But to that end, I want to thank Rebecca for helping me prompt our coastal engineers, and I signed off on the official application. Barbara, I signed off on everything correct, and when everything went back to GEI, and we believe that our final submissions will be made in the very, very near future to DEC to get our permits for the bluff, stabilization of the bluff, and an extension of our steel wall at the base of our bluff. Originally, we applied for 400 linear feet. I think they've only approved to date up to 200 linear feet of the steel wall, and of course a splash wall in front of that, the rock with the mesh, holding in place, and then revegetation of the bluff. Although Rebecca has had some good ideas on what that vegetation should look like. We're just going to try and get through the permit process and then go from there. Don't hold your breath. It could be a good 4, 5, 6 months before we get our DEC permit.
But you're gonna say years, Mayor.
What's that?
I thought you were gonna say years.
Oh, no. Well, who knows? The other good news, though, and project update, and I'm not sure, Joe, if this is on your agenda, but the projects for the retaining wall, both on Highlands Boulevard, and the East Beach retaining wall as you go down the hill on the right-hand side, that project is going out to bid. If it hasn't gone out to bid already, Joe, is it getting published this week?
January 7th, it should be ready for pickup.
Good. So I'm glad to hopefully get that retaining wall as you're going down East Beach done, before the season opens. It's a tremendous wall, tremendous pitch, and that's a big project. So good time of year for that to be done.
Point of clarification, Mayor, is it you said on the right as you're going down?
Yes, correct.
Very
It's
good.
a very high sloping wood timber rotted, wall. It's got to get done.
Very good. Yeah, because the one on the left is still okay.
Yeah, the one on the left, we have those concrete. They put these
Planters.
like a living wall in there. That's a Mike Verruto project back in the day of Mayor Strong's administration. So those are like where you could plant in there. And so Karen every year plants another bin of lavender. So
Sure.
that wall looks good.
It does.
Yeah. Stable anyway. And with that, I'm going to pass the baton to Deputy Mayor Laux. Keep the meeting moving.
This will be quick. I have just a few things. I did go down to the beach today. I was able to drive down there. We have a mountain down there of sand. I've never seen so much sand in one spot. It's going to be quite something when they finish it. Things are kind of quiet at the country club. The golf course is closed. Tennis is closed, of course. The driving range is still open. People can come up and use the driving range, but you need to bring your own golf balls. We've put what balls we've been able to find back into the basement. They're washed and put away for next year. Membership applications have all gone out. If you're a present member and you haven't received it, you should notify the office. We'll get you another one. The club, the Waterview, the restaurant, they're going to be open all winter, Wednesdays through Sunday, but they're only serving dinners on the weekends. Dinners only on the weekends. I do have a young man coming from the Boy Scouts, another scout, trying to become an Eagle Scout. He wants to put in a bocce court. We're still looking for a site. We think we may have found one down near Rocket Ship Park along the driveway, right opposite Barnum Avenue entrance. We have to take the young man down there and take a look at it and see what that's all about. Ice skating is really doing a booming business. We're open 7 days a week down there. Farmers market is indoors on Sunday. We are renting rooms up at the village center on a limited basis for small groups. Recreation programs are very, very limited. As I told you at the last meeting, we don't have use of the school anymore. So if you're interested in any of these recreation programs, you can visit our website. And that's pretty much all we have.
Thank you, Stan. Kathy Ann Staden, Trustee Staden. Kathy, you're on mute.
There we go. I've been in discussions with our parking administrator as well as Richard Harris with Code. We've been exploring outdoor dining possibilities as we move into the new spring and summer seasons. As everyone knows, it was kind of quickly put together to help our restaurants, but it's something that we want to possibly expand moving forward. So we are doing our due diligence and our research at this point, and hopefully have some more information on that at our next meeting. The Business Improvement District is continuing with their seasonal advertising. You'll see that on News 12. The commercials have been very, very nice. I'm impressed, and it makes Port Jeff look like the village that it is. And hopefully it's going to continue to bring people in a safe and productive way for our businesses and our restaurants. We did cancel the meeting for this month in lieu of the fact that, or in light of the fact that the numbers in Suffolk County have gone quite high because our meetings have been in person. So we are going to skip January's meeting and move to February. So I'll have more updates hopefully at our next meeting. And with the school district, we are looking to be open 4 days for in-person learning at the middle school and high school. It has always been that way in the elementary school, but we should be moving to that as of January 12th. There have been the plexiglass partitions have been purchased and installed, so all the students should be heading back. The prom fundraising committee has continued with the next event being a virtual comedy night. So if anybody is interested in helping out the prom committee and having the access to this virtual comedy night, you can access that on the prom webpage. And again, the prom is still up in the air because we don't know where we're going to be come June, but the parents are plugging away and hoping that something will come of that. Parking lot on Barnum is moving along, still waiting for some materials to continue with that. We've talked a lot about the Barnum parking lot. And with Code, I think Chief has covered pretty much everything that's been going on when he reported earlier tonight. So that's all I have for tonight.
Kathy Ann, two comments. First of all, the Christmas holiday decorations at your house, if that was low key for Bill, I know Bill, it's hard for Bill to kind of keep it low key, but I can see those lights from my house over here. Second thing is congratulations. Your daughter got in 2 of 2.
Yes.
So she's doing great. Elena is doing great with her. You're a parent with a senior this year, so you got triple duty there at the household, and looked like you guys had a beautiful holiday. And you have a new member of the family.
We do. We have a new horse. His name is Bo, and we're having a blast. Luckily, that's one activity that you can do very socially distanced from the next rider. And so the girls have been enjoying that. We have a beautiful indoor arena at the barn where we keep our horse. And so it doesn't matter the weather. We go, and almost once a day, we get the kids there to ride. So yes, thank you.
Congratulations. All good things coming from this Staden household there. I didn't know if maybe Rebecca was going to report on this, but we did have the Lobster House. James has successfully moved from uptown to downtown. If you haven't visited our good friend James at the Lobster House, he's now relocated to the Harbor Square Mall downtown. Beautifully renovated, which where Ocean's 88 was. It also has, as part of that, a fish market component. So it's always fresh. My parents love going down there, getting his shrimp salad, his lobster salad. I saw you had a beautiful meal over the holidays from him. So please help support all of the local merchants, but especially those who are making an effort to, create a new business for themselves and our community. And to that end, we have Rebecca. I think that you pointed out we have a new merchant uptown who took it, opened up in one of the spaces, and he does upholstery. And it looks like he's going to have a booming business because the response from your Facebook posting was overwhelming. So it's good to see this new activity in the midst of everything that's happening here. So I just wanted to kind of personalize this a little bit here.
Absolutely. As we're all spending more time in our homes, we're looking at all those little wear and tears on the corners of our couches and projects that have been neglected. So good time to open an upholstery business. And
Absolutely. And
Great.
now I can go back and buy that antique chair. I didn't know what I was going to do with.
exactly. I've been looking on Facebook Marketplace for all the $50 Victorian sofas that need reupholstering.
Cool.
Here I come.
I did realize that I skipped Mr. Miller. So Bruce, I'm going to come to you. You have something to report about the conversations we've been having with our consultant, Mr. Foxen, and the application for a new FEMA grant.
Yes, we have in the past discussed hardening of the infrastructure and grants available. This one is by the federal government, FEMA. It is to harden architecture. Our energy consultant, Robert Foxen, has contacts in the industry and people who can prepare a letter of intent that we would develop, suggesting where we want to go in order to harden the architecture. And then in the end, to prepare the actual grant itself. There are possibly millions of dollars involved in this, so it would be a very good thing. We had talked about hardening the infrastructure so that the hospitals, the village and schools would not be subject to closing because of storms or other reasons for outages. I would just comment that we have a letter of intent coming up sometime in January. All of this is very vague, but it could come up on us very quickly. So this is not something that needs to be done tomorrow, but in the short term, rather than the midterm or the long term, we should meet with on the Zoom with Mr. Foxen and his associates in order to get that letter of intent out and get us in the running.
Yeah, my understanding, Bruce, is that the consultant from FEMA was going to prepare that letter of intent on our behalf for my signature. So Barbara, we'll follow up and see what the story with that is. I didn't realize Mr. Foxen was looking for a second, phone call with us. I thought we had a pretty much.
Yes. But basically what he wants to, he wants to work with us. We'll have a collective discussion and doesn't have to be particularly lengthy, but just to get a general idea of where we want to go, what our objectives would be, and then that letter would be created and it would come out under your signature for the application. And also we have with Mr. Foxen, we have outstanding the possibility of his writing a letter for your signature to LIPA and PSEG. We are unaware of where they get some of their numbers from. And so this would be an attempt to query them in terms of where do they get their forecasts, because they're forecasting a decline. And we have some issues, including the possibility of subsidies of electrical cars, which obviously would use more electricity. So,
yeah, that was on the as a result of the second LIPA report or study that he presented to us, and we reviewed with the board, I think, a couple of meetings ago.
right.
So yeah, we have some more work to do with Mr. Foxen. Thank you, Bruce. Rebecca, we're going to switch gears to you, but prior to that, I know you're the liaison to the Building and Planning Department. Just briefly, I've had meetings with the Conifer developer who is doing the major project uptown on the first parcel as you come over the tracks on the east side. I've been working with their project leader and some of their engineers, Allison and Jennifer. They're in a final push to get they have conditional site plan approval from us. They're looking for their building permit, but in order for us to issue a building permit, they need their DOT and their DPW from Suffolk County for sewer hookup, all those final approvals. So we've been working with them, having a Zoom meeting every other week, just so that we can help push those other entities. So because once they have their permit, they can then close on the parcel and start construction. So we're hoping that we'll have all permits in place by the end of January, the latest. And we're making good progress on that. So I just wanted to kind of update the village residents and then segue to your report.
Perfect. Thank you. That's very exciting. I think we're all excited to see the, that project start to move. It's another one that I know has been in the works for a very long time. So thank you for all who've made it happen thus far and continue to push. Speaking of the building department, anyone who's waiting for a permit, I know that they are running a little bit behind between the holidays and again, with COVID kind of making its way around. They're about 6 to 8 weeks, maybe even a bit more back on permits for residents. So myself being one of them, we do not get special treatment, and that's how government should be. I support that. Just to say, if you are waiting on a permit, please do have patience. I know everyone's working as fast as they can. And on that note, I do want to welcome the new inspector. That will help to get those permits out even faster. So thank you all for helping to make that happen. A resident brought up to Trustee Snaden and I that there had been signage put up at Rocket Ship Park regarding COVID regulations, but it must have come down in a storm or it was being replaced. Something has happened where it is not there or not there at the gates. So it just wanted to, Joe, I don't know if you have something to say.
The signs are back up.
Great. So wonderful. The signs are back up. So please do. I know thank you, Joe, for that. In the resident letting us know about this, the resident reported that mask wearing was subpar, suboptimal at best. And so if we just want to remind our residents to please do your part and do wear a mask when in these more crowded situations, it's, we all have to do our part there. And do heed those signs. And that thank you so much, Joe, for letting us know. That was quick work on Port Jeff's part, and always helpful when a resident does speak up and let us know when something's wrong in a constructive manner. Okay, the Community Garden Committee is officially kicking off this week. We are 9 members strong.
Oh, that's great.
And 2 of which are master gardeners from Cornell Cooperative Extension, all Port Jeff residents, and all incredibly enthusiastic. We are still open to committee members if there are residents who are listening who would like to join, or residents who have neighbors who might like to join. We are all very excited to start to look at what a community garden in Port Jefferson would look like. So do not hesitate to email trustee-casse@portjeff.com with just a note of interest, and we can correspond further. But otherwise, we are going to start. One of our first things will be for those members who are available and interested and feel safe to do so, a socially distanced trip out to the the downtown Riverhead Community Garden. I was able to contact and have a long conversation with one of the women who founded that garden, and that is a very similar situation to what we might be looking at, where there's a downtown right next to a community garden situation, and just the different ways in which it really helped to bolster the businesses nearby and become an attractive part of the town. So that might be our first step there. So very exciting going on there.
Can you let us know can you let us know when that's scheduled?
Absolutely. You're all welcome to come join.
Thank you.
If not, I'll take lots of photos and report, of course. We are working, the village grant writer and I are working on a grant application with the Long Island Sound Futures Fund for the sculpture that we went through the process for picking out, which one would suit the village best. But of course, we want, with the spending freeze and also wanting to be responsible, we're going out for grant funding to fund those sculptures. I'm working on programming and hopefully going to incorporate the High School Environmental Club with some of that programming to help educate the public about recycling and usage of things. And that's
Great.
all for me today.
Thank you very much. We have Next is Mr. Egan. Do you have anything to report to the village?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Board of Trustees. Happy New Year. Just two updates. One is we are continuing to work with Conifer and their council on trying to hammer out the developer agreement and the easements that are very complicated on that roadway. So I just wanted to publicly say thank you, Mayor, for your getting involved and rolling your sleeves up and tackling that project with us. So thank you for your help on Conifer and pushing that. Second, we did have a preliminary kind of kickoff meeting with LIPA, the town of Brookhaven, and all of their council, inside council and outside council, to try to synthesize the Huntington settlement with the Port Jefferson settlement. It's complicated, and it's going to take a little bit of time, but hopefully our goal is to get it done, if not in Q1 2021, definitely in Q2 2022. And as more details come fleshed out, I'll certainly obviously update the board on a regular basis, but we're definitely, it is an active part of the discussion.
So given that information, Brian, and I don't know, Denise, if you can answer this question, our assessment roll closes when? End of February?
Yeah, it has to be the end of February after grievance.
Right, so that's not going to hit for this year's bill.
Correct.
You know, I'm sorry, for the bill that's coming out 21, 22.
Yes, I don't think it's going to make a difference on that bill. I don't think it's really going to even make much of a difference going forward. It's more of a time question and whether there's going to be a potential subsidy payment that might happen. But it's not really going to affect the percentage reductions.
Got you. Okay, great. I'm glad you guys have started that. It's taking the first bite of the apple there. It's good. Thank you. Joe, anything further to report this evening? Administrator Palumbo?
Nothing additional tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Hope the family's all healthy and back in.
We're back in full swing. Thank you.
That's good to hear. And Barbara Sakovich, how are you this evening?
Good
My
morning.
clerk.
How are you? Happy New
Good.
Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
The only thing is our 2021 parking stickers are in. I'm going to just ask all the residents to watch the website. We're finalizing the portal. I encourage everybody, instead of coming to Village Hall to get your parking sticker, you can either upload your information or send copies and do the entire process through mail. With the numbers going up, we want to minimize crowds here at Village Hall. So watch this week. We'll have that portal finalized. So you could do it all via the mail.
Yeah.
And the next meeting, I'm sorry.
That's
The
good.
next meeting will be on a Tuesday, January 19th, because of the Martin Luther holiday.
Great.
Barbara, do you know where that portal will be able to be accessed? It will be on the front page of our webpage, or where do people go to look for that?
We'll put the link on the front page. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Kath, we'll probably do like a banner ad going across, just because that's going to be a hot ticket item, no pun intended. You know, usually the residents, it's only when the meters hopefully come back on, and I say that because that means the economy is opening back up, that they really start picking up and looking to get their stickers done. So hopefully we'll be a little bit more proactive.
Which reminds me, I wanted to just make a public statement about parking and parking meters being off, and free parking in the lots does not mean free parking on Main Street if you're over the time limit. So there's been some discrepancy in the court, and I forgot to add that to my report for the courts, that yes, free parking throughout the village in all of the parking lots, and that is listed on the gateway signs entering the parking lots. But Main Street, East Main Street, anywhere else where the signage talks about the timed parking, that is still being enforced, and it's not unlimited time. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, that's thank you. That's to keep those spots kind of open so people can pull in and pull out. And good reports tonight, guys, based on the fact that, you know, it was like a 3-week period there where, you know, holiday was definitely active. Any other comments or concerns this evening before we're going to go into exec to talk about a potential contractual matter? And if there's nothing else to report, Teresa, do we have any participants in the lobby there looking to comment?
Yes, we do. I'm just about to ask them if they have any questions.
Or if they want to.
I don't see anybody right now with their hands raised, but if you'd like to raise your hands, I'll bring you into the meeting.
Going once. Going
Nope.
twice.
I don't see anybody with their hand raised.
Yeah, I'm looking at them as well. So,
Okay.
Okay, so going to make a motion to go into exec session at 8:12 p.m. to talk about a potential contractual matter. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So we're going to ask for Fred, if you, is Fred, Teresa, can you have Fred exit the meeting? And Denise, thanks for participating this evening. We'll see you later. Thank you so much. I skipped you. I'm sorry. Shoot. I skipped.
You're upset, right, Denise?
Oh, I'm so upset. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks, Denise.
Okay, so I'm
Bye,
going to
Brian.
stop the.
Thanks, Brian. Brian, you're
I'm
staying,
gonna
right?